Hey sickos, I'm LJ,
And I'm Toe.
and this
Is Say Psycho right now.
Say Psycho Right Now is a true crime and paranormal podcast. Some content may be considered disturbing or graphic. We don't typically provide trigger warnings due to the nature of the content we discuss. Listener discretion is advised.
We are also potty mouths. If you're not put off by that, shout out you. Buckle up and get ready for another episode of Say Psycho.
To shop brand merchandise, access our socials, or become a Patreon member with access to early episodes and bonus content, find us on any social media platforms and consult the link tree in our bio, or go to www.patreon.com/saypsycho right now.
You can also follow us on our socials or wherever you stream your podcasts and leave a 5-star review if you're enjoying our content so that we can continue to reach more people. Following us on Patreon enables us to produce more content and enables you to access more content. So we highly recommend checking that out.
Now let's get into today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Wow, love your energy, Toto.
Oh, thanks, LJ. Hey guys, this is the season finale of season 1.
God, if
This
you
is
we said
come
this in our Patreon episode, I'll say it again. If you made it through our first 9 episodes and you're actually still here with that audio quality, God love ya.
God love you and stay tuned for season 2, but God, it's the end of an era, you guys.
It really is. And I'm so excited for season 2. Like, we've got a great little pool of case suggestions that are building up, which, like, I'll say it again. You guys kind of get a little spiel in the beginning, but send case suggestions to saypsycho@gmail.com now more than ever because we are going to take a teeny eeny little bitty baby hiatus, right?
Yes.
Just like TV shows take big hiatus between season, we
We're
decided
taking
we're
a
gonna
baby
take a
one.
little baby one. Not to actually have a break, but because we make no money doing this, we work full time, and this will actually enable us to like get recorded a little bit ahead so we can keep enjoying it and keep like a lot of bonus content for our Patreons and make it like super
Yes.
enjoyable for everybody, not burn out.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. So we will be back on Labor Day weekend.
yes.
Actually, I guess well,
It'll be technically Labor Day weekend for our Patreons because they'll get the episode early, but like actual Labor Day Monday for the public. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you for saying what I was trying to say, LJ. Great job doing your LJ job.
Words are hard, English is bad.
Words are hard, and that's why LJ's our resident word person. So, today, for the season finale, we have an episode. Oh no, you know what? pause for a second. This was a listener suggestion, and I need to go into our email to find out who that person is.
Ooh, this is us pausing.
Pause, pause, pause.
Super duper
Okay, because I
pause.
forgot to put it into the outline because of who I am as a person.
That's valid.
This one was sent a while ago. Snickerdoodles.
And this is just like testimony to the fact that like if you've submitted a listener suggestion or whatever, don't be like, "Oh my god, I submitted it so long ago. They're never gonna do it." Like, we have so many, and we're just a baby pod because we'll send stuff to ourselves too. So we have like suggestions from you guys, things that we find that we're like, "Oh my god, you guys are gonna love this." And we just kind of like work through them at complete random. Like, we just go in there and we're like, "Oh, we're gonna snag up this bad boy." Like, if you submitted it, whatever, a year ago, like, don't say we're not gonna do it 'cause we surely might. Like, we're gonna one day
Yeah.
work through all of these at some point. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so today's case was actually sent in by listener Terry Lynn via Facebook. So thank you, Terry Lynn, for sending us this case suggestion. And today we are going to cover the case of Addie Hall and Zack Bowen.
beautiful. Thank you, Terry
So
Lynn.
thank you, Terry. You're a gem. So I actually, this case is pretty sick. I enjoyed it.
What the fuck? That is not the direction I thought that was
That is
going.
not
I'm
the
sorry.
direction I
That
thought it was going. Okay.
it threw me for a loop-de-loop
Maybe I
there, buddy.
should rephrase that. No, just despite this case being pretty like fucked up, it was an interesting one to research, and I enjoyed it. So
Right.
thank you for sending it in, Terry.
Well, I'm
Um,
interested because offhand, like, I don't think this is a case I'm familiar with, you know? I don't think I'm
yeah,
familiar with this one.
yeah. It's like I feel like it's kind of a famous case, but not in like the true crime podcast space, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, yeah.
Not to say there's not coverage on it, because there is, but like I didn't see a whole lot of coverage from some of like the bigger creators.
Right, that checks out.
So without further procrastination, I'm going to get into the case here. So Addie Hall was described as a free-spirited, feisty artist who, unfortunately, she had a rough upbringing. She had been sexually abused as a child, and as a result, she was said to have been weary of relationships with men. She was a poet, an artist, and a dancer, and she also worked as a bartender in the French Quarter of New Orleans, where she lived. Unfortunately, Addie did suffer from bipolar disorder, and she was said to be very inconsistent with taking her medication, which is going to play a role in the relationship that's going to become the focal point of this story. Zack Bowen was described as a charismatic and good-looking man, and he had grown up in California and was said to sort of had that laid-back West Coast vibe. Now, Zack had married young to a woman named Lena, who was actually 10 years older than him, and together they had 2 children. So, being young and suddenly having this family to provide for, Zack decided to join the army. Now, Zack did several tours overseas, both pre 9/11 and immediately following 9/11. And it's said that he witnessed things during his time in the military that would change him forever. He was said to have been deeply traumatized by the death of a close friend, as well as the death of a small child that he had befriended, who was subsequently killed alongside his family for interacting with American soldiers.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Stop. No. I mean, yes. Oh my god, that. But this is, like, triggering something in me. I have heard about this case, and recently, I just can't pinpoint who I listened to about this. I'm so sorry. Go on, but I just was surprised that
Yeah. No,
yeah.
for sure. Now, in addition to that, back at home, his wife had been diagnosed with hepatitis C and was quite ill. So he decided that it was time for him to get out of the army by any means necessary.
Mhm.
And he did what he had to do up to and including intentionally failing his fitness evaluation to get discharged from the army.
Right.
And Zach and Lena unfortunately did part ways shortly after he was discharged. They were just done. Lena had said that she kind of felt that they had grown apart and
Mhm.
that their marriage had run its course.
Right.
So that's just a brief backstory on Zach and Addie. We don't have an enormous amount of information on them, prior to the events of this case, but that's what we know. So, our story for today starts in the year 2005 in New Orleans. Now, as I'm
Okay.
sure many of us remember, that was a devastating year for New Orleans and its surrounding areas, as this was the year that Hurricane Katrina absolutely devastated that area.
Right. Yeah.
Now, Addie and Zack first met when they were both bartending in the French Quarter, and initially, Addie wasn't exactly thrilled with Zack. Now, nonetheless, Zack was enamored with Addie, and he actively pursued her until eventually the two fell madly in love with each other. Now, they had only been together a few weeks when Katrina hit, but they opted to ride out the massive storm together in Addie's apartment. During the weeks following the storm, Zach and Addie became something of leaders in this like makeshift community of people who chose to ride out this storm, right? Because a
Right.
lot of people evacuated, but there was, a few people that were like, no, this is our home, we're staying, and they chose to ride it out. And Zach and Addie were prominent figures in this group of people.
Right.
They served alcohol and food to their neighbors, and they were actually photographed and interviewed for several publications nationwide during this time.
Mm.
As the city began to rise from the destruction and life began to return to somewhat normal, reality started to set in for the young couple. And the honeymoon phase of their relationship was officially over at this point.
Right.
Um, they returned to their jobs, bills began to pile up, and it became clear also around this time that Addie just wanted Zach all to herself and didn't have the desire to deal with his children or his ex wife.
Mm.
Now, it was around this time that the couple was said to have begun arguing constantly. The relationship became extremely toxic, and both parties turned to heavy drug and alcohol use to cope with everything that was going on at the time. They decided that a fresh start was in order for them. And so one day the couple was walking down Rampart Street and found a for rent sign outside of an apartment located above the famous Voodoo Temple. Now, I do want to take a moment here to just touch on the Voodoo Temple.
I was
Because,
about to say, ma'am, I need more information on that.
yeah, yeah. So this is a pretty significant place in New Orleans. It's located at 826 North Rampart Street and it's listed on the city's Registry of Historic Places. While the building itself is actually much older, the Voodoo Temple was founded by Priestess Miriam in 1990 alongside her then husband, Priest Oswan. I'm going to do my best here. Priest Oswan Chamani. And they subsequently moved into the location in 1991.
Mhm.
Now, people speculated that maybe this voodoo temple has something dark going on inside of it, and that contributed to what we're about to learn took place inside this apartment. The
Mhm.
reality is, however, that voodoo is in general is a kind and healing practice that is very well respected in New Orleans, and there's absolutely no darkness at play here.
Mhm.
Now, and I'm going to come back to the voodoo temple a little bit later, but getting into the main events here.
Right.
So the couple decided that they would move into this apartment. However, as they're just beginning to move in, Addie goes to the landlord and explains that she's caught Zach cheating and she requests that the landlord drop the lease in her name only. When Zach discovers this, obviously he's not very happy.
Mhm.
Now, I couldn't find an exact date that they moved into the apartment. However, what we do know is that they were not there very long at all before shit hit the fan. So, from what I can make out date wise, this puts us in early October 2006. One morning, both Addie and Zack fail to show up for work. Now, within the subsequent days, Zack does resurface, but Addie is still nowhere to be found. When concerned friends asked Zack about where on earth Addie might be, he simply said that she had left him and gone back to North Carolina. Her friends were a little bit torn here because, on one hand, Addie was notorious for being impulsive, but they also knew how much she loved New Orleans and the French Quarter, and they couldn't imagine that she would ever leave. On October 17th, 2006, Zack went to the La Riviera rooftop bar, which was located 7 stories up above the Omni Royale Hotel. For
Mhm.
several hours, he proceeded to sit there by the pool and smoke and down shots of Jameson. He then got up and began to pace around the pool area, and the bartender watched nervously, thinking he was about to walk out without paying his massive bar tab. If only that was all he was about to do. Zack
That
then
sounds not
disappeared.
great.
No, it's not
Sorry.
great. So Zack then disappeared out of sight, proceeded to walk over to the roof railing and jump over the side. He landed 5 stories down on top of the hotel's parking garage and was killed instantly.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now, obviously, police were called, and the
Right.
authorities were not surprised to have received a suicide call that evening. This was post Katrina New Orleans, and sadly,
Mhm.
suicide had become increasingly common in this struggling city.
Yeah,
But
like so many people. I mean, like they lost everything,
so
like
many
their
people lost
homes, their loved
everything.
ones. I mean, I'm from Pensacola, and like at the time I wasn't living in Pensacola, I was living in South Florida, but I grew up in Pensacola. I lived there most of my adult life, and like, I've heard from so many people, we have so many people in Pensacola who came to Pensacola from Louisiana, you know?
Yeah.
And you hear about, like, they're literally like, the way that things happened with, like, the city infrastructure there and stuff too, like, bodies literally would, like, come up afloat from the cemetery and stuff because everything was so like, nothing like this was even like, this level of devastation was even conceivable to the people of New Orleans. It was just unprecedented devastation. So
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, suicide calls had become kind of par for the course for, the authorities in the city. However, what they found when they arrived at the scene was beyond their wildest imagination. The police and staff from the coroner's office arrived on scene to find Zach's body lying on the roof of the parking garage facing up, and considering the fall, surprisingly, not very mangled.
Mhm.
A staff member reached into Zach's front pocket and found a Ziploc bag containing his army dog tags and a note that shocked the investigators to their core. The note was addressed to police only, and it read as follows: "This is not accidental. I had to take my own life to pay for the one that I took. If you send a patrol car to 826 North Rampart, you will find the dismembered corpse of my girlfriend Addie in the oven, on the stove, and in the fridge, and a full signed confession from myself. The keys in my right front pocket are for the gates. Call Leo Watermeyer to let you in. Signed, Zack Bowen."
Oh my god, I have a question. Question, please. Hand is
Question.
raised.
Yeah.
Was Zach cannibalizing?
So it's kind of Catherine Knight vibes, whereas
Uh-huh.
we're gonna find that there wasn't actually signs of cannibalism, but
Okay.
it looked as if that had been the intention, and it never actually occurred.
Okay. Hate
Yeah.
it. Great. Thanks
Yeah.
for answering
So,
that.
which is actually what I'm about to get into right now. So, authorities did as instructed and they proceeded to the residence. Now, upon arrival in the apartment, the scene they encountered was nothing short of horrific. The apartment was cold, the air conditioning had been set to 60 degrees. There were deeply disturbing messages spray painted on the wall that said things like, I'm a total failure and I love her. And lastly, there was a particularly chilling message that read, Look in the oven, with an arrow pointing to the oven door.
Mm.
On the stove in a pot, they found a human head burnt beyond recognition, along with hands and feet in another pot. They found Addie's arms and legs in a large roasting pan in the oven, also severely burnt. Her torso would be found inside the refrigerator in a large plastic bag, and investigators noted that there appeared to be seasoning on the limbs as well.
Sorry, that was involuntary. Oh god, I hated that. Go on.
As well as cut up potatoes and carrots next to the stove. However, autopsy results would go on to reveal that no signs of any cannibalism had actually occurred.
That why do people always be cutting up carrots and bodies together?
I don't know, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Why is it always the carrots and potatoes?
That's what I wanna know.
Like, I don't know. This guy really, he
God.
really, I don't, he took one out of Catherine Knight's playbook, that's for sure.
Really do
Um,
be the starches. Go
really do be
on.
the starches. Police also located Addie's journal with an entry having been added by Zack after the murder that read as follows. Today is Monday, October 16th, 2 a.m. I killed her at 1 a.m. Thursday, October 5th. I very calmly strangled her. It was very quick. Halfway through the task, I stopped and thought about what I was doing. The decision to halt the first idea and move to plan B, the crime scene you are now in, came after a while. I scared myself not by the action of calmly strangling the woman I've loved for 1.5 years and then desecrating her body, but by my entire lack of remorse. I've known for forever how horrible of a person I am, ask anyone, and decided to quit my jobs and spend the 1,500 cash I had being happy until I killed myself. So that's what I did. Good food, good drugs, good strippers, good friends, and any loose ends I may have had. I didn't contact any of my family, so that'll explain the shock. And I had a fantastic time living out my days. It's just about time now.
I hate him.
Yeah. So that's about the story. Obviously, there's no charges to be filed. There's pretty much just there's really not a whole lot of investigating to be done. It's just a crime scene to clean up at this point. Now, the Voodoo Temple remained at this location until 2016 when the building sustained significant damage in a fire.
Mhm.
Tenants of the apartment following the gruesome murder described multiple instances of paranormal activity over the years, and the temple relocated to 1428 North Rampart Street, where it still resides to this day. Now,
God, I know that.
today, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know you love paranormal activity.
I do. I love me some, no, Toe hates haunted
Yeah,
anything, but
I was like, what? No, you don't.
uh,
Oh
we
God.
only did one episode on that, and that's because it was a plane. But
In the whole season.
and honestly, probably in the whole history of the podcast, I'm not gonna lie. The temple, oh, sorry, did I say that? The temple relocated to 1428 North Rampart Street, where it still resides to this day. Now, today, 826 North Rampart Street is home to Bloody Mary's Tours, Haunted Museum, and Voodoo Shop, and you can tour the apartment.
Oh, can we go?
Okay, so, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Here's the thing, a lot of people take issue with this because we have to keep in mind here that this happened in 2006. So the people that knew and loved Zack and Addie are still alive. And many
Wait, are
still.
you saying that you tore the house where she was murdered, or you
Yeah.
tore the voodoo
No, the whole
place?
place. The whole place. But yes, the apartment is part of the options that are available for touring.
Oh, yeah, I don't love that.
Yeah.
I wasn't understanding that. I thought that they just do like a general ghost tour. I missed the part where you're like actually touring where she was murdered. That just feels wrong. I like historical sites, you know what I mean? Like when we did Gettysburg and it's stuff from like
Yeah.
200 years ago or whatever, like get it, you know? But stuff that it's like, 2000, I don't know. That just feels tasteless.
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue that a lot of people take with it. This case really, really rocked the community. They, like we said, they were well known and well liked people. And with this only taking place in 2006, many of their loved ones are still alive, probably still living in the area. And they have to drive by this place that has now been turned into.
Like a tourist attraction. That's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as much as I love a spooky tour, which LJ and I do love,
Mm.
I'm a little torn on this one. I don't know. Maybe leave your thoughts in the comments. See what you think. I'm
Yeah, I
curious.
feel like there are, in general, when you go to like older cities in the US, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about internationally, but as somebody who's like traveled on like crazy white people RV trips across the country doing ghost tours and stuff, like, no, we don't say that. No,
What?
what?
Oh, I was just laughing at you.
Oh, I thought you said, like, we don't say white people. And I'm like, but I am a white person. That's definitely
No,
like a white person thing to do.
we say white people. It's fine.
Okay. I was like, but I'm what? Okay. But yeah, like, as somebody who's gone on these types of excursions before, I feel like most, like, major, like, older cities in the US have not just like one ghost tour, right? Like they have like
Yeah.
several different ghost tour providers. So I feel like my personal opinion would be like if I were going to the area and researching ghost tours and looking between them, I would favor one with historical sites over one
Yeah.
that like goes to like a recent murder victim's like place of murder. Does that make
Murder.
sense? That's just how I
Yeah.
feel like on the ethics
Mhm.
of it personally.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there's lots of wonderful things to see and do in New Orleans,
Yeah, they
and
have a great aquarium,
lots of history in the city.
really good beignets.
Yeah, maybe just not this
Yeah.
particular spooky attraction.
Like if you go at the right
Um,
times, you can hear like
but
amazing street musicians and stuff. Like,
yeah,
there's just like a lot
yeah,
going on there.
lots of great things in New Orleans. I don't know. I mean, if you have no moral compass, maybe this is the attraction for you. But
She says, drop a comment. Let us know.
drop a
Let us know if you
comment.
have a
Let us
moral
know.
compass.
Maybe I'm too. Yeah,
Um,
let
like,
us
are we
know
too
if that's.
harsh? I don't know.
But you know what? Towards the end of season one, I'm just becoming increasingly feral.
Just
Um,
like, my fucks I have left to give in my fuck piggy bank are running out.
yeah, because you guys got to understand, you know, we research absolute fucking lunatics all day long, and it's just like you
Oh,
get to this
God.
point.
It's like, could everybody just stop fucking killing each other for 5 minutes? Are you guys good out there? No, clearly
Honestly,
not.
like we can't keep up. So, I don't know. Just
We're
have
like,
no
have a great
desire left to
summer
be.
break. Stop fucking killing each other.
Maybe that's what we should sign off our season finale with.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, have a
Have a
great
great summer
break.
break, everybody.
Stop killing each other.
Great. Love you so much.
All
See you
right.
for season 2.
Bye.
Bye. Toodaloo. You didn't say it, so I
Toodaloo.
had to.
Okay.
Okay, great. Bye.
Oh no, did we perform a fuckaroni?